The voice in the street? The sun was low over the hills of Los Angeles, casting long shadows over the quiet street. Keanu Reeves had just wrapped filming for the day and was walking alone toward his parked car. It had been a long, emotional scene, one that drained him more than usual. He liked to walk after work sometimes, clear his mind, feel the world again. Being alone with his thoughts helped him stay grounded. He wore a plain black hoodie, jeans, and a baseball cap pulled low. Nothing about him screamed celebrity except his unmistakable presence. But even then, people usually left him alone. Something he appreciated. The street was almost empty. A soft breeze rustled the trees. His car sat just ahead, a vintage black Mustang parked beneath a broken streetlight. But just as he reached for the door handle, he heard it. A shout. Small, high-pitched, panicked. "Don't get in the car." Keanu froze. He turned slowly. A boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, was standing at the corner of the sidewalk, barefoot, his clothes dusty and oversized. He looked like he had been running. His eyes were wide, full of fear. Keanu blinked. "What?" The boy ran up to him, breathless, his little hands waving in front of him. "Please," he said, tugging at Keanu's sleeve, "don't get in, please." Keanu looked around. No one else was nearby. He crouched down so they were eye level. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. "Are you okay?" The boy's eyes darted around. He leaned close, whispering something that sent a chill down Keanu's spine. "There's something under your car." Keanu's heart beat faster. He stood up, quickly stepped back and glanced underneath the car. From a distance, nothing seemed unusual. But then he crouched and looked closer. A small metal box was tucked near the exhaust pipe. Taped, wired, blinking red. His breath caught. A split second later, instinct took over. He scooped up the boy, ran behind a nearby concrete bench and ducked low. A loud bang shattered the calm. Glass flew. The Mustang burst into flames, smoke curling into the sky. Keanu's ears rang, and the boy was shaking in his arms. They sat there for a few moments, both too stunned to speak. Sirens in the distance, footsteps, shouting. The street quickly filled with chaos. Police, firemen, neighbors, everyone trying to understand what had just happened. But all Keanu could think about was the boy. Who was he? How did he know? And why had he saved him? Keanu looked down. The boy had fainted. Hours later, in a brightly lit hospital room, Keanu sat beside the boy's bed. Doctors said he was fine, just exhausted and dehydrated. He hadn't spoken since the explosion. Not a word. Keanu hadn't left his side. The nurse entered quietly and handed Keanu a piece of paper. "This was in his pocket," she said softly. Keanu unfolded it. A child's drawing, a car, a stick figure with long hair, and another figure with an arrow pointing at the car. Under it, the words, "Danger. Save him." His hands trembled. He looked at the boy again. Something deeper was going on. He needed answers. But first, he needed to make sure the boy was safe, because someone had tried to kill him. And this boy, this stranger, had somehow known. When the boy woke up the next morning, he didn't look scared, he looked calm, like he had expected all of this. "Thank you," Keanu whispered. The boy nodded. "You're welcome. What's your name?" "Milo." "Milo," Keanu repeated. "How did you know?" Milo looked away. "I saw it." "You saw the bomb?" "No, I saw it. Before." Keanu didn't understand. "Before?" "In a dream," Milo said. "I saw you walk to the car and it went boom, but I screamed in time and you didn't go." Keanu's heart thudded. He didn't know what to say. "Does this happen a lot?" he asked carefully. Milo nodded. "Sometimes. Not always. Just when people are in big trouble." "Have you told anyone?" "They don't believe me." Keanu did. He believed him completely. He took a deep breath. "You saved my life." Milo looked at him with serious eyes. "I wasn't supposed to be there, but I ran away from my house. I didn't know where to go. Then I saw you, and I remembered the dream. Keanu felt a strange ache in his chest. This boy was alone, scared, and somehow carrying the weight of something far beyond his years. He reached out and took Milo's hand. "You're not alone anymore, okay?" Milo's lip trembled. He nodded. "I'll help you. We'll figure this out together." Outside the hospital room, a man stood in a black coat watching through the glass. He held a phone to his ear. "Yes," he said. "He survived, and now he's with the boy." Pause. "We moved to Plan B." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the hallway. Inside, Keanu didn't know it yet, but saving Milo would become the most dangerous mission of his life, and the boy wasn't the only one with secrets. A shadow in the hallway. Keanu stayed close to Milo over the next few days. The hospital had allowed a private room for them thanks to Keanu's quiet generosity. He didn't want attention. He just wanted answers. But answers were slow. Milo was quiet most of the time. He ate little, spoke less, and always watched the windows. He didn't ask for toys or TV. He just sat by the bed or near the corner chair drawing. Always drawing. Keanu noticed a pattern. Each picture showed danger. Fires, crashes, people crying, and always a single person stopping it. Sometimes with a scream, sometimes with a gesture, and every time the boy who saved the day looked like Milo. Keanu leaned against the wall, arms crossed, studying one drawing closely. "You've seen all this?" Milo nodded without looking up. "Some already happened, some not yet. What about me?" Milo pointed to a drawing from 2 days ago. It showed Keanu on a stage, a crowd in front of him, someone aiming from the roof. "You were going to speak. Someone was going to hurt you." Keanu felt a chill down his back. He hadn't told anyone yet, but he was scheduled to attend a surprise fundraiser event next week in San Francisco. Only 3 people knew that. He picked up his phone and sent a quick message to cancel. Milo looked up. That was smart. Keanu sat on the edge of the bed watching him. "Who taught you all this?" Milo shrugged. "Nobody." "How long has this been happening?" "Since my mom left." Keanu's face softened. "Where's your dad?" "I don't know." "Have you been living alone?" Milo nodded. "Sometimes with strangers. Sometimes I sleep outside. I move when the dreams come." Keanu's voice broke. "You're just a kid." Milo finally looked into his eyes. "But I know things." Keanu leaned closer, took his hand. "Then let's figure this out. Together." Milo hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." Outside the room, the hospital's hallway was mostly empty, but a nurse down the corridor noticed something strange. A man in black was standing just beyond the exit door, half-shadowed. He didn't seem like a visitor. She took a step forward, but before she could say anything, the man vanished around the corner. The nurse frowned and picked up the phone. That night, Keanu had a hard time sleeping. He sat in the hospital chair, next to Milo's bed, sipping tea, watching the lights of the city flicker outside the window. His mind was racing. What if the car bomb wasn't random? What if someone had been tracking him? He didn't talk about it publicly, but he had received threats before. Being kind didn't always mean being safe. His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock. A nurse peeked in. "Mr. Reeves, there's someone here asking for you." She says she's the boy's aunt. Keanu stood up, confused. "His aunt?" The nurse nodded. "She has ID, wants to speak to you privately." Keanu looked at Milo, sleeping peacefully. Something didn't feel right. "Where is she?" "Waiting in the visitor lounge." Keanu nodded. "I'll go. Don't let her in here yet." He walked slowly down the hallway and found her sitting alone on the visitor bench. The woman looked strange, too calm. She wore a neat business coat, had a handbag in her lap, and smiled when she saw him. "Mr. Reeves. Thank you for keeping Milo safe." He studied her carefully. "You know him?" "Of course. I'm his aunt. His mother was..." My sister. You have paperwork? She held up an envelope. Everything's in here. He took it, not opening it yet. Why hasn't he mentioned you? Her smile thinned. He's been through a lot. Children forget things when they've been traumatized. Keanu's eyes narrowed. He said his mother left, not that she died. The woman paused. Well, he's confused. Keanu turned the envelope over. The seal wasn't hospital standard. No notary, no social worker, no legal representative. He stepped back. Thank you, but we'll handle this through proper channels. Her face darkened just a bit. You really think you're the right person to decide what's best for that boy? Keanu's voice was calm but firm. Yes, I do. She stood up slowly. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's mine to make. She gave a final smile. He sees things, dreams. Sometimes he's wrong. Keanu tilted his head. What? Do you mean? Ask him about the farmhouse. And with that, she walked past him and out the door. Keanu stood frozen. Farmhouse. When he returned to the room, Milo was awake, wide-eyed. She was here, wasn't she? You saw her in your dream? I see her every night. Who is she? Milo looked down. She's the one who took my mom. Keanu's hands clenched, into fists. Did she hurt you? Not yet, Milo said, voice shaking. But she will. Keanu sat down beside him. What's the farmhouse? Milo drew his knees to his chest. Where they took the others. Others? Milo nodded. Kids like me. The ones who dream. Keanu swallowed hard. Do you know where it is? Milo nodded slowly. I remember now. He reached for a blank sheet of paper and began drawing. A road, a dirt path, a red roof, and hills in the distance. Keanu looked at it closely. The location looked familiar. He opened his phone, checked the satellite map, and zoomed in. His heart skipped. A match. An old property about 2 hours north. Abandoned for years. We'll go, he said. First thing tomorrow. But Milo grabbed his arm. No, he whispered. They know we'll come. Then what do we do? Milo looked into his eyes. We let them come to us. Keanu nodded slowly. He had faced danger before, but this was different. This wasn't about him anymore. This was about every child who had been silenced. And now, he wasn't just fighting for survival. He was fighting for truth. The boy who remembered everything the next morning started quiet. Too quiet. Keanu woke before sunrise, already alert, sitting in the hospital chair like a soldier on watch. The city light still shimmered in the distance, and outside their window, fog rolled through the streets like silent whispers. Milo was curled up under his blanket, but his eyes were open. He hadn't slept much. Keanu leaned over. Did you dream again? Milo nodded slowly. But this one was different. How? Milo hesitated. I saw her. Again. The woman from last night. But this time, she wasn't alone. Keanu sat forward. Who else was there? Men in black coats. And a boy. He was crying. A real boy or just a dream? Real. I think he's still at the farmhouse. Keanu stood and pulled out his phone. He had already marked the location from Milo's drawing. He'd also hired a private security team to discreetly check it out. But they hadn't reported back yet. Too long. He texted again. Status? No reply. He frowned. We need to leave this hospital, Milo whispered. We're not safe here. Keanu nodded. You're right. He had already arranged for a secure place to stay, a private villa outside the city, owned by a trusted friend who owed him a favor. He didn't want to take chances, not with Milo's life. They dressed quietly. Keanu thanked the nurses, signed the paperwork, and walked out with Milo in his arms. No media, no cameras, just two shadows disappearing into the fog. But they weren't alone. A black van watched from the far end of the street. As soon as Keanu's car turned the corner, the van started its engine and followed. An hour later, Keanu's car drove into a gated driveway nestled between tall pine trees. It was a peaceful property, far from the city noise. A guard opened the gate and gave a nod. Keanu parked the car inside the garage, quickly guiding Milo inside. "We'll stay here for now," he said. "No one knows about this place." Milo glanced around. "They'll find it." "Not this time," Keanu said firmly. But even as he said it, doubt crept in. They sat at a large wooden table in the living room. Milo had a notebook open, sketching. Keanu was reviewing security footage from his phone. Still no word from the team he sent to the farmhouse. Milo suddenly stopped. "Drawing. They're close," he whispered. Keanu looked up. "Who?" Milo pointed toward the window. Keanu stood and walked over, carefully peeking through the blinds. Nothing but trees and fog. He turned back, and the glass shattered. A bullet tore through the window, missing him by inches. "Down!" he shouted, grabbing Milo and diving behind the couch. More shots. Glass, wood, smoke. Keanu reached into the cabinet beside the fireplace and pulled out a small black case. Inside was a weapon, licensed, unused for years, but now ready. He moved swiftly, silent, steady. Outside, shadows moved. They were being hunted. Keanu crawled to the hallway, motioning for Milo to stay low. The boy obeyed without question, his eyes wide but not panicked. He was used to danger. Keanu fired a warning shot through the front door, and the shadows scattered. 2 men ran back toward the trees. He grabbed Milo and rushed through the kitchen to the back door. They made it to the car. The engine roared. Tires screamed against the wet road as they sped away from the burning quiet of the villa. Keanu's jaw clenched. They were watching us the whole time. Milo sat still, holding the notebook tightly. "They wanted to take me back," he said softly, "like they did to the others." Keanu looked at him. "We're not going to let that happen." "But you don't understand," Milo said, his voice shaking now. "They want me because I remember." "Remember what?" Milo looked down. "Everything." Keanu slowed the car. "Tell me." Milo closed his eyes. "They tried to erase my memory, with lights, with machines. But something went wrong. Instead of forgetting, I started remembering more. Not just things that happened, but things that will happen." Keanu stared at him. "You mean you see the future?" Milo nodded. "Sometimes only a few seconds, sometimes days, sometimes things that haven't happened yet, but they feel real. Like they already have." Keanu was silent for a moment. "And the other kids? They had gifts too. Not like mine. Some could hear voices, some could sense danger. They kept us in rooms. They ran tests." "Who's they, Milo?" Milo hesitated. "I only heard one name. A code name." "What is it?" Milo looked straight into his eyes. "Project Mirage." Keanu felt like the air had gone still. "Do you know where the others are?" "Not all," Milo said. "But I remember pieces. The farmhouse, and a building near the sea. Cold, gray, like an old school." Keanu took a deep breath. He was now standing in the middle of something far darker than he expected. He had gone from movie sets to a real-world nightmare. But this wasn't fiction. This was happening, and innocent children were trapped. Later that night, they hid in a small cabin on the edge of a quiet town. Keanu had turned off his phone, used cash for gas, and avoided every camera he could. He taught Milo how to use a burner phone, how to signal for help, how to escape if separated. The boy listened carefully, too carefully for his age. As they ate, a simple dinner, Milo whispered, "Someone's going to help us." "Who?" Milo smiled faintly. "A woman. She works with them, but not really. She's trying to stop them." Keanu blinked. "What's her name?" Milo closed his eyes. "I don't know her name, but she has a scar on her cheek and she's afraid too." Keanu stared into the fire. He didn't know where the next threat would come from, but he knew this. He would not stop. Not until every child was free, and not until the people behind Project Mirage were exposed, because he wasn't just running anymore. He was coming for them. He scarred woman. The sky outside the cabin was black and quiet. Only the soft hum of insects filled the air. Keanu sat near the fire with a thick blanket wrapped around Milo, who had finally fallen asleep after another night of restlessness. The drawings were stacked beside him, full of images Keanu didn't understand. Towers, tunnels, strange symbols, and always children with frightened eyes. Keanu hadn't slept. Not really. Every sound in the woods made him tense. Every gust of wind reminded him they were being hunted. But his mind kept going back to what Milo said. A woman with a scar. Someone who wanted to help. Keanu didn't know if she was real. But if she was, he had to find her before they were found. Again. He leaned back and checked his backup phone. No signals traced, no alerts. Then he opened a file he'd kept secret. A contact list from years ago. People he had helped quietly. Off the books. People who owed him favors. He sent a short encrypted message to one name. Danger. Need info. Project Mirage. Location unknown. He hit send and waited. Nothing happened for 5 minutes. Then the phone buzzed once. A single reply. Meet me in Barstow. 1 p.m. The diner by the tracks. Come alone. The next day, Keanu parked an old rental car just outside the dusty diner. The heat shimmered on the asphalt. Barstow was dry and tired, the kind of place people pass through without stopping. He left Milo hidden in a nearby motel room, locked in and monitored with a hidden camera. The boy didn't argue. He knew the risk. Keanu entered the diner. It smelled like coffee and fried bacon. A few truckers sat at the counter. An old woman wiped the tables. And there she was, sitting alone in the corner booth, sunglasses on, head down, a faded red scarf around her neck. When she turned slightly, Keanu saw it. Just below her cheekbone, a thin scar running toward her jaw. He sat across from her. "You're the scarred woman," he said. She didn't smile. "You're the actor who walked into a war," she replied. Keanu leaned in. "I need answers." She pulled off her glasses and met his eyes. "You're already in deeper than you know. You're not just protecting that boy. You're disrupting something powerful. Something that was never supposed to be public." "What is Project Mirage?" he asked. She glanced around. It started 10 years ago. Military research, funded by hidden departments. They were looking for ways to predict global threats, natural disasters, terror attacks, even political shifts. They thought kids were the key. Why kids? Because children's brains are more flexible, more sensitive, easier to manipulate. They scanned thousands. Most were dismissed. But a few. They showed signs of something else. Keanu whispered. "Like Milo." She nodded. "Milo's not the only one. There are others. Most locked away. They were trained, tested, isolated. But when some kids started predicting things too accurately, tragedies, deaths, even classified missions, they shut it down. At least officially." Keanu clenched his jaw. "And now? Now it's private. A rogue group broke off. They use the kids for profit. Stock markets, foreign affairs, manipulation. They erase memories, create false identities, move them around, like assets." Keanu leaned closer. "Do you know where they're keeping the others?" "I know one place, not the farmhouse, bigger, underground, near the coast." She slid a flash drive across the table. "This has the coordinates, but you won't get in alone." Keanu grabbed it. "Then help me." Her eyes darkened. "I already did. I gave you the key, but they'll know. Once you go there, they'll come for all of you. And you won't survive unless you're ready." Keanu stood. "I've been ready since he saved my life." She pulled her scarf tighter. "You don't understand, Keanu. That boy is more than a child. He's the reason they're scared." "Why?" "Because he remembers everything, including their future." By nightfall, Keanu was back at the motel. Milo was drawing again. But this time, he wasn't afraid. "I saw you at the diner," he said softly. Keanu smiled, sitting beside. Him. You saw her too? She helped once before. Long ago. She let me out one night. But then they caught her. You remember? I remember all of it now. Milo turned the page and showed Keanu a new drawing. It showed an old building by a rocky cliff, half underground. Guards at the front, and cages. Many cages. Inside were kids. Keanu's voice trembled. Is that the place? Milo nodded. That's where they are. Keanu loaded the flash drive into a secure laptop. The coordinates matched the drawing perfectly. He stared at the screen. We're going. Milo looked up. Tonight? No, not until we're ready. Keanu reached into his bag and pulled out a satellite phone. He had one more contact to call. An old friend, ex-Special Forces, who owed him a debt that could never be repaid. He dialed the number. A voice answered. This better be life or death. It is, Keanu said. I need a team, trusted, off-grid, and I need them now. Pause. You finally cashing in that favor? Yes. Where? Keanu looked at Milo and said, The cliffs near Santa, Roca. Copy that. I'll bring everything. As Keanu ended the call, Milo touched his arm. You're scared. A little, Keanu admitted, but you're still going. Keanu looked into his eyes. Because you were brave when I couldn't. See the danger. Milo smiled faintly. Then let's go help the others. Keanu nodded. Tomorrow they would storm the place where innocence was stolen. And this time, the story would not end in silence. It would end in freedom. Storming the silence. The wind howled along the cliffside as night fell over Santa Roca. Far, below, waves crashed against jagged rocks, echoing like distant thunder. The hidden facility sat carved into the land itself, an old coastal observatory converted into something darker, something secret. From above, it looked abandoned, but inside the lights were on. Cameras blinked. Armed men walked the corridors. Keanu Reeves stood with his back to the cliff, a headset in his ear, eyes sharp beneath the cover of darkness. Beside him, Milo held a map tightly, his hands trembling, but not with fear, with purpose. Behind them, 5 figures moved silently through the brush. Former special ops, each one hand-picked. Men who had once served beside Keanu on a forgotten humanitarian mission in Syria. Men who now owed him their lives. They had no names tonight. Only code names. Alpha to Bravo. We're in position, one whispered. Keanu nodded. We go on Milo's word. Milo looked up at him. They moved the kids. Lower level. West Wing. How do you know? Because I saw it just now. It's happening right now. Keanu placed a hand on his shoulder. You ready? Milo nodded slowly. Then he whispered something that made every man still. There's a boy in the last cage. He can't speak, but he hears everything. He knows the way out. Keanu didn't ask how. He didn't need to anymore. He trusted Milo. Let's move, he said. They split into 2 teams. Keanu led the main approach with Milo and 2 operatives through a narrow cave that connected to the old service tunnels. The others flanked the guard station from the cliff edge. Inside, the hall smelled like dust and fear. Metal doors lined the walls. Red lights blinked on security panels. No alarms yet. Milo stopped suddenly, eyes wide. Left turn. Quick, cameras up ahead. Keanu guided them around the corner. The boy's directions were perfect. It was like he was reading an invisible map. No one else could see. They reached the West Wing entrance. A steel door blocked their path. Keypad-locked, Milo stepped forward. The code is 4812. Keanu entered it. The door clicked open. Inside were 6 rooms, and behind each reinforced window, children. Some asleep, some awake, all silent, all staring. Keanu felt his chest tighten. This was real. This was so real. They began unlocking doors. One girl, no older than 10, whispered, "Are you here to take us home?" Keanu knelt beside her. "Yes, all of you." The kids followed, clinging to each other. Milo led them quietly, pointing at cameras to avoid. He stopped at the last room and placed a hand on the glass. "Him," he said. Inside was a boy about 12, thin, pale, and trembling. His eyes darted around like he was listening to something no one else could hear. Keanu opened the door. The boy didn't move. Milo stepped in, knelt in front of him, and whispered, "We're the noise you've been waiting for." The boy suddenly smiled. Just a little. He took Milo's hand. "This way," he said. "I know the door that's never locked." Keanu's team followed the boy, weaving through hallways, past old laboratories, server rooms, forgotten medical bays, but then the alarm blared. They had been seen. "Go!" Keanu shouted. Doors slammed shut behind them. Red lights filled the hallways. Voices shouted over the intercom. "Intruders in lower level. Secure all exits." Keanu grabbed the boy. "Where's the door?" The boy pointed to a side wall. "Behind the lockers." They pushed the lockers aside. A hidden hatch waited. Unlocked, just like he said. "Through here," Keanu yelled. One by one, the kids crawled through the tunnel. Outside, his other team began laying cover fire as the facility guards closed. And Keanu was last through the hatch. Bullets echoed behind him. He slammed the panel shut and sealed it. They emerged in a cave system that opened to the cliffside. Their transport was waiting. 2 black SUVs and a van with reinforced sides. But just as the last child got inside, a black drone appeared overhead. It locked onto their signal. Keanu saw it and grabbed the remote jammer from his belt. He fired, it just in time. The drone sparked and crashed into the rocks below. They sped away in silence. Hours later, at a private safe house deep in the desert, the children were fed, washed, and cared for by medical volunteers. Most couldn't speak. Some didn't even remember their real names, but they were alive and they were free. Keanu sat outside under the stars, exhaustion weighing on him like 1,000 pounds. Milo sat beside him. "They're going to come again, aren't they?" Milo asked. "Yes," Keanu said quietly. "Are we ready?" "We will be." "What if they find us?" Keanu looked at the stars. "Then we make sure the whole world sees them too." Milo handed him another drawing. It was the same facility. This time it was burning, and behind it stood shadows in suits, running, hiding. "They're scared now," Milo said. "Good," Keanu whispered. "They should be." But the war wasn't over. It had just begun, and somewhere in a glass tower far away a voice crackled through a private line. "He got them out." "What about the boy?" "Still with Reeves. Terminate both." A silence. "And burn the data." Keanu Reeves had exposed the first crack in a wall that had stood for years, but what was waiting behind it was darker than he ever imagined. When the whole world saw 3 weeks later, the safe house was gone. Not destroyed, but moved, hidden deeper underground beneath an abandoned rail yard, shielded by old concrete bunkers and reinforced steel. No signals went in or out unless encrypted. Food came through trusted hands. Doctors rotated in and out, volunteers sworn to silence. And at the heart of it all, Milo. Keanu Reeves sat beside him in the central room, not as a guardian, not as a protector, but as a man forever changed. The kids were doing better. They smiled now. They laughed sometimes. The girl who hadn't spoken in years had started humming songs at bedtime. The boy who had cried alone in his sleep now sat with others, drawing side by side. But peace was temporary. Both Keanu and Milo knew it, because the men who ran Project Mirage hadn't stopped. They had simply gone quiet. And in the world of silence, that was worse. Keanu sat at a table, the flash drive plugged into a laptop, screen glowing softly. With help from his ex-operative friends, they had decoded parts of it. There were files, locations, experiments, case numbers, but more importantly, names. Names of officials, scientists, corporations. Every name connected to the abuse of children with gifts like Milo. And the data proved they weren't just studying them. They were controlling them, profiting from them. "This will destroy careers," said one of the ex-ops, scrolling through the files. "Maybe entire governments." "Good," Keanu replied. They destroyed lives first. He reached for his phone and made a call. Not to the police, not to the FBI, but to a journalist. Her name was Lara Devine. Honest, brave, fired 2 years. Ego for asking questions no one wanted asked. He'd helped her once. Now it was her turn. Lara arrived at the hidden safe house by night, escorted in with a blindfold and a promise. She was pale when the guards let her through. Her hands trembled, slightly as Keanu greeted her. I hope you're ready, he said. I've been ready for years, she replied, just never had the proof. He gave her the flash drive and then he gave her the room. 24 children, all rescued, all real. Lara fell to her knees. She listened to their stories. Some spoke clearly, others drew pictures, and some just looked into her eyes with quiet pain, but it was enough. Lara returned to her team. She didn't ask for permission. She released the full report 2 nights later. Video interviews, hidden files, satellite footage of the destroyed facility, photos of cages, diagrams of brain scans, and finally, security footage showing Milo, barefoot, pulling Keanu back from the car before it exploded. The headline was simple: The Children Who See Tomorrow, and the System That Tried to Erase Them. The world broke open. News agencies exploded with coverage. Governments denied involvement. Then leaked messages proved otherwise. The phrase Project Mirage trended worldwide for a week straight. People protested. Whistleblowers came forward. Hidden labs were raided across 5 countries. Arrests were made. But the faces behind it, the real architects, remained in the shadows. One night, after all the chaos, Keanu and Milo stood alone under a dark desert sky. A small fire burned between them. Milo looked older somehow. Not in years, but in spirit. Like a storm had passed through his soul and left something stronger behind. You did it, Keanu said softly. Milo shook his head. We did it. How do you feel? Better, but not finished. Keanu understood. No, they'll try again, he said. Milo nodded. But we're not alone anymore, and he was right. Other kids had begun to come forward. Children who had escaped or been hidden by frightened parents. Each with a story, each with a gift, and something new had begun. A school. Not for controlling them, not for using them, but for helping them grow. Keanu didn't run it. He just funded it. Quietly. From the shadows. He refused interviews, refused awards. It was the boy, he always said. I just listened. And Milo? He kept drawing. Only now, his drawings were full of light, kids playing, oceans, stars. But sometimes he still saw the bad things, and every time he did, someone was there to help him stop it. Not just Keanu, but kids like him. A new generation. A new kind of strength. Somewhere in a cold, white room far away, a man with gray eyes watched the broadcast on a screen. His lips curled into a bitter smile. They think it's over, he whispered. Another voice behind him said, Shall we prepare the next phase? The man turned off the screen. Not yet. Let them rest. He turned toward a large wall covered in photos. On one corner, a new picture was pinned. Keanu and Milo standing beneath a tree, smiling. A red circle was drawn around both. Let the boy grow, he said. He's going to lead us straight to the others. But for now, in a quiet part of the world, a boy who once screamed, "Don't get in the car," was finally asleep under a real roof, surrounded by friends, safe in a world that finally saw him. And beside him sat a man who had once only wanted peace, but found something greater, purpose.